Did you end up doing it on your phone? Oh, geez. Oh, that's locked now.
Okay, I can't see you, Samantha.
Oh, that's weird. Oh, okay. There, I think I fixed it.
Okay. Okay, here we go.
Okay. I'll just finish this up really quick. Yeah, so more iMessages, the new messages, encouraging family time together. Something that we talked about, I can't remember, is in one of my classes, that parents should be trying to spend individual time, with each child, to just get to know them on a more personal level, and it shows the child how interested the parent is in their life and in their interests and their hobbies. Time to do things as a family together, maybe aside from family home evening, because I know sometimes the kids are do family home evening. That's how it was in my house. So we would get out and go do things in our garden, or go get ice cream, or go ride our bikes around the park, just finding things that you can do as a build that unity and continue to have those relationships. So something that I thought was interesting, research says spending brief amounts of time, that can even be minutes, at minimum, child preferred activities is one of the most powerful things a parent can do. Something that talked about was having your child help you cook dinner and talking about their day and asking them questions, or even while they're doing their chores and stuff. So just making sure that you find that time to ask them different things about themselves, and to really show that you care and you want to take the time, even though as a parent, your kids know that you are busy. So giving them that time, I think, is really important to the child, because it shows how much you care. Something that I read that I thought was really interesting, it was the heading was Keys to Fair Fighting, and I thought that was really interesting because I feel it kind of contradicts itself. But so just some tips when your child's in trouble, or something goes wrong, and one of them was staying focused on the behavior, and just continuing to use those iMessages, like I said. Also, it's important to stay focused on the present problem that's being addressed, especially if a child does have reoccurring behavioral problems. Don't say, oh, when you did this last week, just focus on the one that you're dealing with right then, because then it doesn't make them feel worse about themselves. And going kind of along with what Maddie said and stuff, is respecting each other's right to safety. Oftentimes, depending on the situation that has played out, in what situation the children are in, or the parents, oftentimes if something bad goes down, you get angry, and the first thing you want to do is take it out physically. And so something that me and my mom struggle with is we don't have physical, we don't want to get violent, but we say things without thinking about them when we're angry. And so what my mom does is she walks away from the situation, and she takes time to go think about it before she comes back. And I just remember that when I was younger, and my mom would get mad at me, and she would just leave, and I was like, oh no, she's so mad, she hates me and all this stuff. But turns out it was a lot better, because she just went to go calm herself down, and then we could come back and talk about the problem civilly, instead of saying things we didn't mean that we would regret later. So I think that's it's really important. And then the last little thing is developing trust. So giving your child opportunities to earn your trust, that's giving them chores, asking them to do certain tasks, and when they do it, praising them and really noticing that they did what they were supposed to, and so they know that you trust them. Something that I thought was really important was showing your child that you can be trusted as a parent. So following through with things that you promise them, don't just go like willy-nilly like, oh, I promise when you do this, we'll do this. Actually, like, go through and do it, so then the child knows that you can be trusted. And then the last thing was just like teaching everyone how to say sorry and the importance of it. So yeah, I just think it's important that especially like when
Oh no.
so they start. Is she gone?
We're good.
We're good. Okay. Just so like they start with a good foundation, and they can build their life off of that. Because I don't know. I think that's really important, and I've seen the blessing that it's been in my life. So, yeah.
Really quick, you said that I could say something. I just want to say, like,
yes.
all the points that you hit on are like spot on. So good job. And
thank you.
I'll be the first to admit I try really hard to be a good mom, but I'm by far like a very imperfect parent. And that is one thing that me and my husband have started from the get-go is when we do mess up with we are quick to apologize to our kids because we want them to know that it's okay to make mistakes. You have to correct them. And along with the trust, like that is huge. My oldest is 8, and I think he's already smarter than me and my husband, but he a lot of times will be like, well, do you trust me to do this? And trust is a big thing with him because he wants to be trusted. And so there have been times that we run to Brolam's just a couple blocks away, and we'll leave him home to watch our younger one because he wants to feel that trust and just kind of the like how it's made him feel so like independent and smart and like he can do hard things just because we trust him. And then when you talked about the individual time, that's huge because we have 2 boys. They're 2 years apart and they are super, super competitive. But the second one kind of always gives way to the older one. And he'll never really say what he wants because he's like, well, whatever he wants, I'll do. And so we do split him up. We try to every week, but it's kind of challenging. But so we do a couple times a month and we alternate who takes which child. And when it's my turn with our younger one, it's really fun because you actually get to learn who he is as a person because he'll have his own opinion and say his own things and he loves it. And it's like one of their favorite times that they look forward to. And they sometimes fight over, who gets to go with which parents sometimes. And then anyway, so good job because a lot of things that you hit on, Samantha, I think were really good and really do help a lot because they're things that I've been taught from my parents too that they really do make a difference. So good job.
Thank you. Thanks for chiming in because, you're really the only person that has that firsthand experience with having your own kids. So I think it's helpful for all of us to kind of get that knowledge and stuff.
Okay. I can go next. That's okay. Okay, so I did mine on anxiety. And one of the articles I read about intervention, it said it's called a cognitive behavioral therapy. So what that is, it's based off of how we think and act and how those affect how we feel, everything. And so what it focus first on the behavioral parts of the CBT is like the most effective way to like come to understand their anxiety kind of a thing. And so what the whole goal of CBT is to for them to learn for them to learn how to unlearn to avoidable behavior, because there's a tendency that anxiety kids tend to avoid situations that bring them anxiety. So it's for them to unlearn that trait kind of a thing. And one of the they said the most important techniques is exposure and response. And so because as you expose children to situations, you start with little things that bring them a little bit anxiety kind of a thing, and you expose it to them slowly and are there to reassure them that it's an okay situation, that they're fine, that they're safe, and that they're okay. So as they are exposed to those things that bring them anxiety, but then the parent or the caregiver is there with them, reassuring them that it's okay what is happening, like it's not really going to affect them, it's not going to hurt them, they'll be able to learn thing that brought them anxiety isn't really going to affect them badly, kind of a thing. And so you start with little things to expose them to, and then once they've covered the little things, you then expose them to the bigger things that bring them a lot of anxiety. And you start with that, and then you end with that kind of a thing to help them overcome it. But with anxiety, it's hard it will take a while for them to get over things sometimes. And you have to almost go back to the root and come to understand why that situation brings them anxiety, why they fear, and try to see if you can get an underlying understanding of it. Because I think if you understand why they have that fear and why they get that anxiety of something that triggers them, it will be easier to be able to help them overcome it, kind of a thing. An article that I read was actually given by physicians, and they gave 5 main principles that no matter the type of anxiety that should be followed. One is the discomfort of a child's anxiety should be acknowledged, and the child should never be ridiculed for their fears or pushed to just cope. Because I think with anxiety, it's a thing that has to be tended to, or it won't get better. It could get worse. And especially if they're pushed to just cope with it and to get over it without the help that they need, it will just make everything worse, and even maybe make that little thing become a bigger problem than what it already is. The second one is the child should not be advised to avoid anything that makes him anxious, as this likely will lead to a withdrawal from many activities outside the secure, immediate family household. Instead, point out that some anxiety helps us to both perform at our best and experience new things. And so my little brother has really bad anxiety when he's away from my parents. Like, even if he goes to the movies with my 2 other brothers, he can't do it. Like, he had to call my mom to come pick him up because he couldn't do it. And I think it's important to teach them that it's okay to go outside your box, because they need to learn when they're at a young age that it's okay to experience new things and get away from, I guess, kind of like the parents' security kind of a thing. Because once they get older, it'll be even harder for them to go away to college, go on a mission, go even spend a week away from mom and dad. Like, it just will cause them more issues and more trouble in their life. And so I think it's important for parents to help them understand that it is okay to experience new things and try new things. And the third one was the child should be supported in developing a plan that allows him to master the areas that provoke anxiety in steps that are at or just beyond his comfort zone. He should be given an appropriate level of support to help him succeed, and should be given messages that he is competent to handle the new challenges he will face at each step of his development. I think with this, you have to involve a child when it comes for them to learn to become better in their lives, kind of thing. They want that independency kind of a thing. And I think, and as they come up with their own plan, I think it helps them want to actually overcome this difficult trial that they're having with anxiety, that they want to do it because they came up with the steps themselves. And then 4th, encourage proper sleep, nutrition, and exercise to help reduce anxiety symptoms. And then 5, the child can be given tools to help him handle his anxious feelings, including positive self-talk, visual imagery, progressive relaxation, and deep breathing. And I know that for my brother, my mom really focuses on talking to him to help him relax. And for him to learn different ways that he can just have positive thoughts in his head instead of negative ones of bad things that are going to happen to him, or things that positive thinking is really what's going to help them change the bad thoughts that they have about the triggers or the situations that they're in. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Well, I pretty much had the same topic, but I tried to add like a little bit of like depression to that too, because I feel like anxiety and depression really go together a lot. But I looked at some like the different like types of anxiety, because there's also different versions. And some of them that I found were like separation anxiety, which I've really seen this in one of the girls at the daycare, which part of it is her being a little like 3-year-old girl, but also just like whenever her mom leaves, she has like these meltdowns because she cannot handle like being away from her mom. And so it's been like really difficult to try to learn how to deal with her, and just like trying to figure out like how to calm her down just because her mom is gone. And so that's an example I've seen for like separation anxiety. And there's also panic disorder, social anxiety, social phobia, school refusal, generalized anxiety disorder, post-traumatic stress, test anxiety. And there's a big list. I'm not going to go through all of them. But I think it's really interesting to like all the different types of like anxiety that there are. And one of them my sister like really struggles with a lot is social anxiety. And she just like she has a really hard time being in like groups of like a bunch of people. And if we like go to like the city, she like shuts down, has like a really hard time. And she's also struggled a lot with like depression, I've seen. And whenever like she gets really anxious, like she tends to get really depressed as well. And so some like the different like resources I found that can help with like both anxiety and depression is like school counselors. You can talk to the principal if that helps, and also with my sister as well, since she struggles with depression. She sees different therapists and different like prescribed medication, antidepressants that like help her a lot. And my parents also work really hard to like help talk to her like whenever she's feeling low, and like help her go do stuff to help bring up her happiness. And also like when we look at like the source, it's usually genetic. Depression runs through my family, so that's how it's affected her a lot. And it can pass through like parents, other extended family. But we've also found that like there's also different factors that can like play into it, making it worse, like school, bullying, work, different things that can help. Just raise anxiety and depression. And yeah, and I found just like other different articles I don't have them pulled up right now that just like really talked about different ways to like help your kids just work with anxiety and depression. Just a lot of them just talked about working with the school, and especially like allowing the teacher to know that they struggle with that. And that's about it. You did a good job.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for preparing so wonderfully and staying with me through the technical difficulties. Just like an overview for Sister Hendershot, I know she just watches like the last little segment. So in this, we, at the beginning of our HOA session, we just talked about the physical and cognitive domain interventions that we did for our assignment last week. And we talked about nutrition and the interventions that you could do there. And then we each went around and talked about our social and emotional domain interventions. We each picked a domain. Anne-Marie did bullying. I did child abuse and neglect. Samantha did family relationships. And Sadie and Brittany did anxiety, and Sadie touched on depression also. And so thank you all so much. Anything else have anything to say?
Yeah, really quick. I think part of it was she wanted us to go through if we had any of the same like interventions that overlap.
Oh, yes.
So do
you have that pulled up?
Couple right now? Like,
yeah, go for it.
Just really quickly. So what I thought was interesting is a lot of us, I feel like it's a lot of one-on-one with a child. I don't think that should be surprising to many of us maybe, but I do find it interesting that every domain, I guess every risk problem that we dealt with, it's a lot of one-on-one time for each children. And I think finding ways to, sorry, I'm having a hard time coming up with the word I'm looking for, but kind of just individualizing their needs and what works best for the child. And a lot of the factors overlap as well, what contributes to like the abuse and neglect and the anxiety and depression, and that can lead over into the bullying. And a lot of, I mean, I think it's just a lot of good emotional health is what we need to promote for the child. And in order to promote emotional healthiness for them, we have to know them individually. We have to spend time with them and know what works best for them. And like Brittany said, like the proper sleep and nutrition and care for their basic needs, I think is like the most important thing for starting off a good foundation for them that spills over into all the other topics that we talked about. It's just something I kind of noticed. Anyway.
I totally agree. It's meeting those individual needs for those individual children because they're all different, but we need to know them well enough to know how to help them. And so thank you for adding that in, Anne Marie. Does anyone else have anything to add?
Just good luck with your finals, guys. Yeah.
Good luck.
Okay, well then I will end this and I will submit it to Sister Hendershot. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Bye.